Hi, I'm Alexi.
All right, see you, man. See you. Bye-bye.
And welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve PR kerfuffles from the MMA world and beyond. Joining us, as always, is Kid Native Bloody Elbow and Eugenes Robinson of Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything Everyone Know About Ass Kicking, but we're afraid you get your ass kicked for asking.
Oh, yes. Yes. On ebook, too, despite the fact that I told them no ebooks.
Oh.
Yeah. They said, do you want ebooks? I go, fuck no. And then people are trading the book online. I go, what the hell? Oh, they just ignored me. How does that taste? do you want pepper with your salad? No. Here you go, pepper.
Well, if you sign the contract that says somewhere in there that they're going to put pepper on your salad.
I did, but the contract specifically said no ebooks.
Oh, really? Well, you should have them there.
Yeah, what I'm not gonna. I got free legal counsel I could get, but I'm not gonna do that.
You're gonna roll over.
Yeah,
I'm gonna roll over and take it.
Well, actually, I'm sort of curious if 5 years after, if it's gonna make a difference. And they've been selling a lot, but how many have they sold versus what's been stolen? Some commenter thought it'd be funny to put a link up to Pirate Bay where you get the book for free. I go, what have you proven? What have you proven?
Some people think piracy is actually a good way of promoting.
Yeah.
Information wants to be free, Eugene.
So is me hiding in the bushes in front of your house. That's a good look too.
That's not scalable, Eugene.
Oh yeah, I'm a busy guy. I've been in the bushes in front of lots of people's houses.
Well, speaking of busyness, Eugene, you're the UFC.
Yes, sir.
With Diaz versus McGee doing record business. We knew a rematch would occur at some point, but not as Ariel Helwani reported at UFC 200 in July. At welterweight, and with the featherweight division held hostage.
Yeah.
This is the fight business, but how do you spin the PR in wake of the backlash from your fan base?
You know what? I tell you, it's like Oxbow's first record was called Fuckfest, and a journalist asked me about it. I go, it's what life is like when you get fucked over and out of everything that made life worth living. And the interviewer goes, that's a pretty downbeat assessment, isn't it? And I just looked at him. So Edgar, fucked. Jose Aldo, fucked. RDA, fucked. Nate Diaz, even outside of a big cash payday, sort of fucked. McGregor, possibly fucked. But the reason this works, and this is the claim that I make on Knuckle Up, the reason why this works is because it's finally the mist has parted, and what's finally been revealed is the fact that Conor McGregor is a true believer. Not a cynical opportunist like I had assumed for most of his rise to the top, but a fucking true believer. The only reason he could get conned into signing on to what is a ridiculous fight for him is because he believes. There's a point at which you got to Kenny Rogers it, fold it, know when to hold it, know when to fold it, walk away. That was one of these times, but given the lay of the land, it makes more sense than fighting maybe Edgar. It makes more sense than fighting Aldo, and RDA fucked himself by breaking his foot. So what are we talking about? But I'm positing, like I do on Knuckle Up, I'm going to posit here again as many times as I can, that Nate Diaz may not ever do that fight because, wait for it, he suddenly magically gets hurt 3 weeks out, and Nick fills in. You would lose your mind if that was the case. Just don't act like it wasn't called before it happens.
I see.
I'll make sure that
you would be lined up for that.
I'll make sure I give Kenny Florian all the credit he deserves. For that
Kenny the plagiarist Florian up there with Joe Biden, famous plagiarist for 200, please.
What about you, Nate? What do you think?
Well, Eugene's tantalizing us with this Nick Diaz-Conor McGregor fight, which would actually be more interesting and appealing. I mean, Nick's a bigger, more charismatic figure than Nate, and why not? If you're going to make up a fight that makes no sense, why not just blatantly make a fight that makes no sense? But the Conor versus Nate thing is like, where's the win in that? If Nate wins, he gets a big payday, and he beats a guy he already beat, and a division he doesn't want to stay in. If Conor wins, he gets revenge. And then where does he go from there? Does he go back to chasing after the lightweight title? Does he stay at welterweight, which makes no sense for him? I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like the UFC is going for the quick buck thing. There's rumors that they're looking to sell. They've had they're coming off the best year in their history, but they know that they're teetering because Ronda's out, Conor's damaged, John Jones can't carry the whole company. And this is a great time to sell if you're the UFC. You put on a big UFC 200, just throw everything into it. Go for
You're
the
legal
now.
in New York now. I mean, you will be legal in New York. The pathway is, set
Yeah,
for
the
that.
pathway is clear. The assembly passed it. That's been the hurdle. They're going for the quick buck. That's all I can say. I mean, and consequences be damned. They're not building anything for the future with this shit.
So how do you spin it to the fans, though? That's my
You don't bother. You're like, yeah, tickets go on sale on such and such date. Pay-per-view's gonna be $75. Like,
Right, double
that's-
down. But you know what? I mean, I don't know if you've read what people are saying. I mean, they're excited about it. I'm actually sort of excited about it. I just don't believe it's going to happen. People are saying like, oh, with time to prepare, fucking Nate is gonna. I'm thinking Nate's gonna have time to prepare. Nate's gonna have time to prepare even better smack. It's like people are not talking about his training. They don't give a. They want like the entertainment part of the sports equation, which is fine. But the reason why it worked so much last time, RDA's out, things are in disarray. Oh, fuck, Hail Mary, and they scored a touchdown off of a Hail Mary. There's something about that process that activates the limbic portions of our brains and make us excited. They're going to duplicate it. I'm predicting. I'm predicting
you predicted Nate.
Nick,
you're predicting it, but it was the kind of Hail Mary where the quarterback gets killed by a safety blitz while he throws a touchdown pass and gets a concussion and is out for the season.
If he was a cynical opportunist, he would have gone, yeah, you got me. All right, hey, where's RDA? Let's get him out here. Let's get that bum out here.
Unless it's a 21st century, I see it as a 21st century, possibly Jake LaMotta versus Sugar Ray, in that you have the first fight, Conor loses. Second fight, Conor loses. Third fight, they go like, will he finally do it?
or Tito's famous line in regards to steroid-using, methadone-taking Ken Shamrock, I'll fight you every week if you want.
Right.
I love that line. I also could probably be credited to Mitch Green, War at the Store. I'll fight you in the streets. I'll fight you. I'll fight you in the produce aisle. I don't care.
Well, all this fight talk is summoning up a recent fight that was epic, brother. Nate, you're Gawker. Hulkamania's running wild. You went up against the largest arms of the world, forgot to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and follow the 10 Commandments. You posted a sex tape, man, and got body slammed by the courts, brother. So what you gonna do, Gawker, with a $140 million judgment coming after you?
I do not have a 10-inch penis.
Thanks for getting that out there.
You can pay me $140 million to say that. I will not lie.
Well, did you catch that Hulk Hogan said that Hulk Hogan has a bigger penis than his real-life alter ego?
Yeah.
That was very interesting to me. I'd love to play a character with a larger penis, but
that would be me.
Yeah, definitely a character.
Eugene Robinson as played by Kid Nate.
Happily,
story, Where My Bitch Is At.
Happily, the penis is pure speculation as far as I'm concerned, and meant to stay that way. So, Gawker, Nick didn't put out a statement yesterday, basically giving the full bore flip off to the Florida court and the Florida jury. He was talking about evidence that was suppressed, legal briefs that were suppressed, things they didn't get to bring out of the trial. Nick going to the appeals. They've won in federal court on this a number of times. There's every reason to believe they'll win on appeal. Denton's main point was that Hulk Hogan didn't give two shits about the sex tape being released, but he was very concerned about tapes of him using the N-word in reference to the guy dating his daughter came out. That's what they're alleging is Hulk Hogan's real issue with this, and that the damages are ridiculous. And I agree that the damages are ridiculous.
Oh, stop it.
Come on, the average amount given out for a wrongful death is less than $1 million. Okay, so you're giving this dude $140 million, huh?
You haven't put your finger in the air and taken the temperature in the country.
Well, that's the thing. Juries always are tough on freedom of speech cases, and judges are always strong on freedom of speech cases. That's why we have judges and juries, so that you don't get this oppression of the minority, the disagreeable, unpleasant minority, which Nick Denton exemplifies. You don't get that. They're going to win in trial, but they're going to have to put up a bond, and a huge bond, which is
50
why they
mil.
went and got outside investment. Maybe $50 million in cash that they have to come up with. So he went out and got some outside investment. He's totally bootstrapped Gawker. You can say what you want about him, and I think, for the record, they're pretty much assholes, but I think they serve a useful purpose and baiting the powerful, and I admire Nick Denton for bootstrapping the whole thing and not, joining all the media alliances like my employer has and all the other media companies do. So he's following the Greg Ginn plan, which is the best defense is a good offense, and I can't argue with it. That's what they got to do.
What about you?
I didn't think this early in the show that Greg Ginn would make an appearance. I mentioned him on my show, actually, incidentally, because of the whole Mike Vallely thing. And I talked about Mike Vallely because of Steve Bossy. And I brought up Steve Bossy.
Oh, this is foul.
About how right I was and how wrong Kid Nate was again.
This is for the picks on the Care Don't Care.
Yes, this is the which are done purely for amusement value, not for.
Yeah, but Eugene seems to be having a lot of amusement value. Rubbing it in your face.
I'm about to turn it around. I'm about to start taking it serious. He's poking the bear here.
Oh. Last time I poked the bear, I got attacked. I wonder if I'll get attacked next time I poke the bear.
What do you do if you're Gawker, Eugene?
If I'm Gawker, you know what? The guy's got it. Well, he's. I mean, in this, Kid Nate is correct. Guy's got to fight it. You can't get up and walk away from it. I mean, you have a responsibility to share. I mean, I don't know if they're publicly traded or not. I can't remember.
No, they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
Privately owned with a small round of investment that they just got.
Yeah, then if you got your board of directors, you can't. You're all in. You got to be all in. I mean, and the appeal is part of the process. That's the way it works. Yeah. I think they should pay Hulk Hogan $140 million? Well, my rule for this is very simple. My rule for, as with most things, how much money has Hulk Hogan given me? You see, anybody? I guess none. Hulk Hogan has given me no money, so I don't give a fuck about Hulk Hogan. Also, how much money has Nick Denton given me? Nick Denton. I've actually sent Nick Denton emails before. And I've asked for work, and he's turned me down. So I got no dog in this hunt. I hope they both have to pay me. That would be the ideal outcome. But Gawker is a sewer. It's a sewer anyway, And I love the guy thinking it's funny when they said, "Hey, is there anything that you wouldn't do?" I mean, at what point would you not show? Well, if the person in the sex video was younger than 5, haha, oh, that's fucking funny, wise guy. For that, you should get a punch in the mouth, So I'm sorry, I don't. That's a comedy killer for me. Child sexual abuse, it's not gonna work. So.
Well, let's keep the comedy killing rolling.
But of course, I found an uncomfortable way that my fortune. Sorry for interrupting, but my fortune intersected with Martin Shkreli in an unexpected, weird, and painful way.
Yes.
You
discovered your Albanian heritage?
No, man. I was in the studio.
He's Luke Thomas. Come on now.
No, I was in the studio the week before last, and the guy goes, Shkreli, and I was like, that's a prick. He goes, no, and it turns out Shkreli was a silent partner in a record label that benefited a lot of my friends, and he said, I'll give you $5 million. I love what you guys are doing. Consider me your silent partner. But because Shkreli was Shkreli, he couldn't keep his end of the bargain. He gave the $5 million, but he blabbed that I got this small label. And then, of course, when the feds came in and seized everything, one of the things they seized as an asset was a record label. So the bands have like, I got the 3 records I have at home. They don't have access to their master tapes. They don't have access to their records. They don't even have access to their PR, the promo photos, nothing, man. The people show up to work, doors padlocked. That's it. Collect, I think, was a record, amusingly enough, the record label name. So,
man.
And that was apropos of what?
Just to say, man,
being a bummer, just making things more depressed than they already were. So we're going to continue on that. We're going to continue on that depressed note.
Yes.
And let you roll with it, Microsoft. You've had your share of chauvinism ranging from your CEO in 2014 telling women they should wait for karma instead of asking for pay raises, to a game developers conference party last week where you hired barely dressed dancers to frolic and jiggle for party attendees. You released a statement apologizing and promising you'll do better in the future. But what steps can you take to make that future come sooner rather than later?
Man, you know what amazes me about these fucking guys? The level of tone deafness. I got a Microsoft employee like standing within 10 feet of me right now. And you know, if you were in Japan, up to recently, you go to a trade show in Japan and it'd be like the booth girls, and it was like a thing. The fact that in 2016, Microsoft has, among the the whole panoply of things they haven't figured out, having booth whores is one of them. How does Microsoft bounce back? Come on, they're not tricking anybody. That woman who had the lawsuit against the VC firm, oh, it's an old boys club, they talk about porn on the plane. Of course they do. Well, I'm just looking to change things. Of course you won't. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, when in San Francisco they talk about people gentrifying the Mission and the tech bros are taking everything over. And I went out in San Francisco, I go, you fucking people. It's like, let's close the door because the horse is over there. It's done. The war is over. Microsoft, the guys, you should, karma will get you a raise. You just don't say anything, and magically karma will float in and bing, give you a raise if you're a woman at Microsoft. Well, I've heard a few things about women at Microsoft, and you know, it's...
None of that comes from me.
all right. None of that comes from the Microsoft employee who's standing 10 feet within me, but you know, it's the system is rotten from the inside, from top to bottom, and to keep up with the theme of general despair and hopelessness, this is another one. They'll make cosmetic changes, but we know the cosmetic changes are for shit, you know, until, I mean, what do you do? What do you do? You know, I had a girlfriend, she went to MIT, she's now a functioning, full-blown, powerful engineer. That's like one person. I'm 50, almost 50 fucking 4, you know? It seems like it would be, if you want, or a chick who wanted to be around a lot of dudes, you know, it seems like a place that you might, you know, like when I wanted to go to Wesleyan or Vassar or Mills College, I was like, man, I gotta up the odds in my favor. Yeah, you know, I want to go to a girls' college. You know, maybe that's like the same thing in reverse, but I don't know, man. It's, you know, you can keep quiet about it, and maybe that's a half measure that'll work, but that shit's not going to change. You know, guys with no social skills and positions of power. What do you expect?
Yeah, Microsoft, like, if Microsoft wants to do something for their public reputation, they should try to stop forcing people to download the new operating system on their old computers. Like, I got a perfectly good piece of shit, you know, Lenovo computer here running Windows 7 or whatever. Every day they're popping up wanting me to download Microsoft 10, Windows 10. I don't want it. I don't want none of your nonsense. They should fire Steve Ballmer again. That's the last thing they did.
Go hire Steve Ballmer and then fire him immediately. Just
in a very humiliating fashion. Maybe even like let him come out for one of his bull roaring, baseball bat swinging speeches and just let people pelt him with rotten fruits and vegetables. That would be, or rotten copies of their operating systems that have failed.
You know, my past is intersected with Steve Ballmer in a very strange way as well. And it's too long of a story to tell here and not nearly interesting enough. But it culminated at some point with a full-blown argument and a billionaire looking me straight in the face and saying, with impassionedly saying, hey, I'm from the street.
The streets of Harvard?
Yeah, he went to Harvard. He also went to Harvard. I mean, okay, you're from the rough.
He was in a pretty tough little league, I think, when he played baseball.
You know, Elliot Spitzer used to say the same thing. He would say, "I'm from the Bronx." It was like,
well, Spitzer does.
Well, Spitzer's probably got a better case for slapping up hoes in lobbies and so forth. You know?
Yeah, Spitzer associates with the criminal underworld more than. But yeah, I was wondering if you think you could take Ballmer. He's a pretty big dude, like 6'5", isn't he?
Oh yeah, I'm taking Ballmer easily. Except if I go against Ballmer, I'm falling to the floor. I'm clutching my eye. I'm developing a case of hysterical blindness, like Hitler. And then I'm looking for the payday, like that guy who got attacked by Jack Nicholson in traffic. It's like, man, I kicked Jack Nicholson's ass. I go, wait a minute, you're looking at a gift horse in the You're looking at a gift horse in the ass. I'm looking in the mouth, baby. I'm falling on the ground. Oh, Jack Nicholson's beat me up. Hey, I know a woman who got herpes. And she's in the hospital, and she's screaming at the top of her lungs.
She's in the hospital for herpes?
she got herpes from the CEO of a major Silicon Valley corporation. And as she's in the hospital, she got it so bad she couldn't walk. As she's in the hospital, the doctor comes with a diagnosis. She starts running, flipping out, screaming his name, saying, "So-and-so gave me herpes. So-and-so gave me herpes." And pretty much as soon as she did it the third time, it was like a magical fairy tale. Bing! An attorney was there. "What do we have to do to make this go away?" And she goes, "I'm not a
attorney.
whore."
The magical herpes attorney.
Yeah, the magic. And she goes, "I'm not a whore." And that's pretty much like the last thing you want to say. Last thing when you want to say when you're not the guy's wife, I'm not a whore. And of course, then she like Terry in On the Waterfront. She settles for the short end money. What do you think a lifetime case of herpes is worth? What would you take? Just a single, not three guesses. Just take a single guess.
It depends who the executive was, But I'd go for.
I'm gonna let the guy, let that database magnate keep his privacy here.
Well-known yachtsman.
Yeah, well-known yachtsman. Of which there are probably several.
His daughter of major power in Hollywood.
I don't know anything about that. But what do you think that information would be worth?
We'll stop questioning the oracles for clues.
Yeah, correct. So what do you think for a woman who's not a whore and who has a lifetime now case of herpes?
If she's parlayed a case of herpes into a hospital visit, that's drawing the attention of the lawyers. I'd say that's a 7-figure case.
Well, you take a guess, Alexi?
Thinking about celebrity herpes settlements.
Yeah. Because Robin Williams had one, so.
With people with less money than this guy,
yeah.
That's like 5 million, 3 to 5 million.
Yeah. How about a new BMW?
That's it?
That's fucking it.
You know what that reminds me of? It's the worst. It's almost like a record industry kind of thing in which you have somebody who signs the standard crap deal back in the day, and it's predicated on the fact that they're a loser and not going to sell any records, and then they finally have a multi-platinum hit, and the record label, anticipating the contract renegotiation, will give them like a Ferrari, and the artist's like, "Oh my God, they gave me a Ferrari! I'm so rich!" And it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. That's old school. Those old chess brothers used to give out Cadillacs at royalty time, and
I got a Cadillac. Dynamite.
Indeed, Chuck Berry, and that's why Alan Free has his name on your songwriting credits. So, yeah, enjoy the ride.
Sorry, I went operatic.
So this week's curveball, Eugene.
Again. Sorry, I was doing Ring of the Nibelung.
Well, you're a small snake.
Yes,
According to NBC4 News, your owner was arrested for unleashing you and your brethren in an LA sushi restaurant on Sunday. It made quite a stir, but who received all the attention? His 13-foot Burmese python. Not you, despite the fact that it was your presence which started the hubbub. And you didn't get any photos, cell phone, or film coverage. Like you weren't even there. You had your 15 minutes of fame snatched away from you. What PR moves do you make to get them back?
You bite somebody with your venom.
We used to play this game called What Would It Take? And the premise is, if the waiter comes to your table and goes, "Would you like a glass of water?" You go, "Yes." And he brings you a glass of water. You drink it. And he goes, "Would you like a glass of water?" "Yes." And then you start asking, "Can I have a glass of water?" And then you start to see how often you could ask for a glass of water before the guy says, hey. So the game is always, where does excess lay? And I start to think, when I get questions like this, that Alexi has crawled over into the what would it take realm of positive. What the fuck are you talking about? What? As a snake was in a restaurant in L.A.? How did they know? Between the Sharpies, the lawyers, the suck-ups, the brown noses, how did they know that a snake had actually made it into a sushi place in L.A.? And was this indeed not something for the dining?
You know what, Eugene? I have to interrupt you for a moment. Some of my best friends are snakes.
Eel. That was the eel dish. No, if you're a snake, man, like we suggested on last week's If I Did It, your route to fame and continued significance resides with killing and eating things. That's it. That's it. If you're a snake and you show up and you don't bite, infect or attempt to strangle something to death, you have already lost.
Wow. What about you, Nate? What would you do?
I'd refer the snake to the cobra that escaped or was released in Austin, Texas in a parking lot, bit a kid to death, then went on the run. Well, that guy got tons of media attention. There was even a fake Twitter account tweeting for 24 hours until it was found run over an access road next to the strip mall parking lot where he was released. So, tragic story. Sorry for the kid that died, but if you're a snake and you want some publicity...
Nah, I'm not sorry for that kid who died. What the fuck do you do? Oh, my God. Look, a snake.
It was a suicide. He was a pet store manager, and he deliberately was suicide by cobra.
Oh, okay.
So,
there was a guy who got bitten twice by rattlesnakes up in the Livermore Hills out here. He was mountain biking and said, oh, look, a snake. See, the thing is, baby rattlesnakes don't have rattles, but they still make the tail motion, and they're just as dangerous. So he goes, oh, look, a snake. He reaches for the snake fucking bites him. He was like, oh, shit, that was a drag. Gets on his bike. I feel a little woozy. I'll stop. He stops. He goes, oh, look, another snake. He reaches for the second snake, gets bitten again. Sadly, this guy lived.
Well, he's doing what he can.
And didn't get the Darwin Award. I mean, come on.
No. Darwin runner-up.
Runner-up, clearly.
So speaking of runner-ups, it's time for a teachable moment.
Yeah.
Nate, you're Jeb Bush.
Of course.
Jeb Bush.
Now that your boy Rubio has been knocked out of the primary, you're endorsing Ted Cruz.
Have you ever heard that expression, tits on a pig?
Tits on a boar, Eugene.
Tits on a boar. Sorry.
Tits on a sow have a vital purpose.
Yeah, when I said tits on a pig, the guy from Microsoft was like, yeah.
Gotta give it some herpes.
He was like, she's working the booth at our next show.
She's working the booth at the next show?
Okay, so with the least trusted man in politics announcing plans for street-by-street police sweeps of Muslim neighborhoods in response to terror attacks in Brussels, what's the point? Well, why not just go full Trump, Jeb?
Jeb's a petty and vindictive man. Trump insulted him personally. Cruz didn't. That's really what it comes down to at this point. I mean, when there's essentially no difference. If you saw Trump at AIPAC, you saw a guy who's willing to read off a teleprompter and tell AIPAC what they want to hear, just like all the other politicians. And when you got Cruz, who's been the rebel, the anti-establishment, the guy flipping his nose, thumbing his nose at the Senate and all their protocols, and the guy that before this campaign started, all the establishment was saying, Cruz is our enemy. Here they are lining up to endorse him, even with Kasich still in the race. I think at this point you just go home, call it a career, retire.
Johnny K's out there. He's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? You know?
Yep. Everybody likes a winner, and Kasich isn't one. Although they're clinging to Cruz, and he's clearly not a winner. Although the math is such that Trump might not have the first ballot nomination, in which case...
bullshit. There will be riots, and the streets will flow with blood, and I'll be there.
You think Jeb's in touch with that? I mean, does Jeb care?
No, look, Jeb is... if I'm Trump, I'm saying, I see the losers have found common cause. So if you want to go jump on that loser train, go ahead. The Trump train will be at the station about half an hour before with the other winners. Got it? Good, because I'm glad. I mean, I don't know. I'm still in shock because I expected Trump to fully get up at the AIPAC and go, the thing is with you Jews. I'm a Jewologist. See, I understand the problems of used people, mostly because I studied Jewology. So, and then, where you going? Where you all going? I'm not finished. Let me tell you about Jewology.
Instead, it was the Jews, they love me. That's why he is where he is,
and I am where I am.
It's
you know.
true.
I mean, but Jeb, yeah, this was pointless. You know, if he wanted to, I would have actually had some strange and interesting respect for him if he had like when people publicly swallow hard. Man, those are sort of thrilling moments. You know, if he had stood up, like I mean, people are still talking about Christie being on stage with Trump, and Trump's my guy, because you're suddenly watching somebody do something. Like there's a friend of mine who was a stripper and an actress in R-rated movies. I'll never do hardcore porn. I think it's a sewer. And then went through a terrible divorce, was in the hole, had to come up with a bunch of cash, and did hardcore porn. And she said, Eugene, you probably shouldn't watch it. And I said, I don't know. And then she gave me a tape and said, okay, well. And it was.
Why did you watch it together?
Well, no, these are complicated. So I'm watching it, and I was like, man, this is not erotic at all in the slightest, because you're watching somebody do something they really don't want to do. It was like a camera on the wall of every shitty argument you've had with a girlfriend. You know, it's like, man, you don't want to be there, you don't want to do it, you don't care, you do anything to be anywhere else but there, but you're there. So, you know, that's why if Bush had stood up and said, you know what, God, I'm going to have to unify the party and throw my support to Trump, man, that would have been beautiful, beautiful.
If he really wanted to stop Trump, that would have been the more effective thing, because I don't think Jeb brings any votes at this point. He doesn't even bring Barbara Bush's votes.
So he should have done like what the KKK guy did, in terms of like you align yourself with somebody in order to sabotage them.
Albatross him, you know.
Yeah, Jeb doesn't.
It's like asking the fat guy to watch your donut shop.
Man.
If you want to collect on insurance, is what I'm saying. Oh.
It's time.
Yes.
For Eugene's Lost Battalion / Phantom Toll Booth / Major Tom / for those people who didn't see Knuckle Up, the new category, Eugene?
Dark Starred. And as soon as we talked about Dark Starred, who should appear? Floating. You could just see the outline of the little head bobbing and the hair flying. And it's like, oh, shit, man, is that Clay Guida? I think it is. I think he's floating back into view. What the hell is he doing at Jackson Wink? I don't know. But he had to pay some sort of large amount of money to be photographed and tweet it out there. Yeah, so that's a new category. Courtesy of Kid Nate, Dark Starred. You know, there are lots of people there. And you know why I can't name them? Because they're dark starred. You know, just think of some guy who hasn't been cut, who you haven't seen, and
whose name you can barely remember, right? It's like what they say, the levels of celebrity, right? The person who's like, I think B-list or below is like, that's that guy that was in that movie.
Yeah, these guys always get that shit in public, especially if they live in L.A. Hey, ain't you that guy that I had a girl do that, an ex-girlfriend of mine do that to Brad Pitt. That was fucking great. It was great because she doesn't watch TV and doesn't watch movies, and he actually thought it was fucking charming. And so they were in some pet food store, and he's like, "Did we go to school together?" "No, did we?" And he's just kind of started. He's like smiling. He goes, "What's your name?" And she goes, "You know, Jennifer Scott." And he's like, "Hey, Jennifer, my name's Brad." And he's like, "Hey, Brad." And he's kind of weirdo, you know. And he leaves the store, and the second he leaves the store, all the gay guys in the store come over. "Oh my God, do you know who that was?" And you know what? Because as he leaves the store, he turns around and says to her at the top of his lungs with his hands in the air, "Goodbye, Jennifer Scott," and then he leaves, you know? And then they said, "Oh my God, that was Brad Pitt." And she goes, "Who?" "Brad Pitt." "Who?" "He was in Thelma and Louise." Oh, yeah. And she knew Thelma and Louise because the sister of a friend of ours is the one who wrote it. Callie Curry.
Let's see.
Celebrity aside, Eugene Robinson. Anyway, we're talking about who is Lost Battalionized, who is Dark Starred, who is I'm gonna go for a pick that you should have seen coming, and he has been top of the line Phantom Toll Booth for a long time, but I'm gonna put him in the I'm gonna move him in the back row, which is very close to being Dark Starred. And it should surprise no one, Mr. Muir, or somebody called him in the comments, Mur, M-U-R. You know, he's had a good run. Somebody broke down his paydays and go, look, This guy has averaged $400,000 a fight. If you go back like the last 6 years, his sell-by date passed. I mean, I don't, you know, this is what it's come to. This is what it's come to in heavyweight. This is it. So, do they
What
want
about
to
your boy
keep
Ken Shamrock?
Yeah, yeah. Do they want to keep
Dark
paying
side.
this guy? You know what? I mean, at this point now that they're in New York, I'm sort of predicting that there's going to be an interesting battle, and the interesting battle will be the bald one fights back, and they're going to be cross defections from Bellator back to the UFC, and I think that's going to. I just get this feeling that Liam is not long for Bellator for some strange reason. Simply because they have needs in heavyweight that are not clearly being filled by a resurgent Cain Velasquez. So I think we're about to see the beginning of a war. But in any case, you know, Frank Mir is there. I don't care that the press conference today will feature Chris Weidman. I like the crazy talk he's doing, but if it should be some sort of cause for alarm that you don't see Ray Longo or Matty Serra standing next to him hollering as well, I'm not thinking he's getting past Rockhold, and the hat trick will be complete, you know, and which is strange. I mean, the guy will be what 10-2 then, but where does the road turn if you've been beaten twice by the same guy?
Wow.
Sad days. Sad
Yes,
days.
it is.
You can always count on me to bring the party.
And you haven't even mentioned Hitler the whole episode.
I did mention Hitler right in the beginning when I talked about hysterical blindness.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's true. It's like Hitchcock when he throws it in the appearance right at the beginning of the movie and
I'm
just.
slick, man. I'm too good for you. I'm just too good. I mean, and we didn't even get to Andy Grove yet.
Yes.
Bing.
Yeah. Let's talk Andy Grove, the late great.
Yeah,
Andy.
well, I'm disturbed by the fact that they haven't announced that what was the cause of death. I know he had Parkinson's, and I know he had prostate cancer back in the 90s when he and I worked together. But he was he was probably the first adult male that I found to be inspirational. And
Why is that?
I met him. You know, they use that term inspirational, and my whole life I'm like, inspirational, my fucking ass. So what? So what? The guy's got my. What, you think he's better than me? I had a very New York attitude about it. And one day when I was working at Intel, I was the editor-in-chief of their corporate publication, and I'm sitting in my cubicle, and he shows up at my cubicle, and he looks in, he looks at the name tag, and he looks in again, and he goes, "You're Eugene." I go, "Uh-huh." And he takes the issue, and he throws it on my desk. And in a big red letter on the cover, it said, B. And he goes, very good, very good. You know, I want to see some A's. And so we got into this thing where he was, you know, grading the issues like they were term papers. Every month he'd grade it, you know, and he had a system, a very academic system, where he would have TAs that he would work like slaves, and ultimately, if they made it through this hazing, they were on the CEO track. So at one point, he said, "I got a press conference in Germany. I want you to cover it, do coverage for the magazine." I go, "Great." He goes, "It's at 3:30 in the morning." You realize, given the time change. I go, "Not a problem." He goes, "So when you come back," I go, "Come back. I'm not going to leave." And he's like, "Huh. All right, well, you can just work out of my office." And Intel, everybody had cubicles, even the CEOs. I go, "Great." Go to his office, sit down, set up. Man, worked from 6 to 3:30 in the morning, covered the press conference, wrote it up, filed by 5. It was in the magazine. He said, "Oh, I guess you're going to go home and get some sleep now." I go, "I got work to do." Go back down to my desk. And I go, "But you're going to go. You're the CEO. You can go home and go to sleep." He looked at me and goes, "I'll be at my desk." I was like, all right. You know, this is a general that fucking like Patton. I'm leading the troops. I'm on a horse. I got my sidearm drawn. I'm going to go against that fucking Panzer Division. I'll see you tomorrow. You know, right. I really like the guy, you know.
Well, I think that concludes a very depressing episode.
Well, strangely, I feel great. I've offloaded my misery, dispensed with my responsibilities, and I feel fantastic.
The flow of energy.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at Eugenes Robinson, at Kid Nate, at Alexi Old. Please give us a thumbs up. Eugene.
For me, that's the thumbs up, buddy.
That's a go. So again, more transferal of energy. Leave comments on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube, MMA Nation on iTunes. Visit Bloody Elbow. Read Eugene at Ozzy.com. And be sure to check out all three of us on Amazon.com. We'll be back next week with another installment of If I Did It. And we don't know what we're going to be talking about yet because the PR mistakes have yet to be made.
Except the best thing would be if we could go totally meta and, well, this wouldn't be a best thing, but if somehow in the intervening 6 days that one of us could be in the midst of a PR kerfuffle. So we could discuss.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's not going to happen.